Okay, this review is going to be for the very first volume in the new reprint edition of the Sailor Moon manga. Now, before we get started, I need to point something out. This is not going to be like when I review the Sailor V books at all. Now, if in case you're not old enough to remember, you weren't born yet, or you simply weren't that much of a Moonie before, let me clarify something. When the Sailor Moon manga originally started in 1992 in Japan, there were 18 books in the series. Now, since then, when they did the first reprint in 2004 of the Japanese version, which is over here, what they did was they squozed those 18 volumes into 12, took out the short stories, and made the short stories into their own separate novels. So altogether, there are 2 Sailor V books, where there used to be 3, 12 Sailor Moon books, and then 2 short story novels. So, when I got this book in Japanese, I found that this wasn't just a reprint of Sailor Moon Volume 1. This was, technically, Sailor Moon 1.5. Now, what you're seeing on top of these are the original Tokyopop graphic novels. I have all 18 of them. Now, Tokyopop gets a lot of flack, and I want to explain why. The first thing Tokyopop did was they Americanized a lot of the names, at least up until Sailor Moon S. So, Ami was Amy, Rei had her name respelled, Makoto was Lita, Minako was just Mina, and Usagi was Bunny. Now, these name changes were to reflect the DiC version, which is interesting because in the DiC version, Usagi is Serena. She's only Serena in that book, and then never again. They stopped changing the names right when they got the Sailor Moon S novels, and then afterwards, when they got the Stars novels, some of the characters were renamed again, not to reflect any TV changes, because we never got an official dub of Stars, but because there were some translation issues. So a lot of names ended up misspelled. Another thing that Tokyopop did, and this is why I think a lot of people just shit all over them, they did try to Americanize the manga. They threw in terms that didn't fit the series, the timeline, or any of the characters. For example, in this book right here, is it this book? No, I think it's a later book. Oopsies. In one of the books, they list Sailor Mars as being a fan of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Problem with that is Rei doesn't own a television set. And at the time there was no YouTube, so how could Rei watch a program in her own home if she has no access to the internet and no television? But aside from that, I think Tokyopop did a good enough job translating them. You get the general idea of the stories. Kodansha takes it a little further. So, picture the Tokyopop version being like if Usagi translated it, and the Kodansha being like if Ami translated it. So I'm going to review these books, and of course if you saw the Sailor V review, then you know that this book has a slipcover. And the cute thing is that, for some reason, they dyed Usagi's cover pink, so now she kind of looks like Chibiusa. That's cute. That's very cute. Very nice artwork. The Kodansha American release does not have a slipcover. What you see is what you get. And there's the spine of it. And there's the back. And again, just like Sailor V, ages 13 and up. No children, please. Now, the first edition Sailor Moon book had stickers. Second edition books and the English books do not have stickers, but that's alright because this is not for children. The color pages have a slight cyan hue. I do not know why they are printed like this. The new Kodansha book fixes that. So, for lack of a better term here, these color pictures, they're in HD. It's not going to come up as nicely in the camera. You've got to see this in person. All of the names in the Kodansha book are put back the way God intended. Usagi Tsukino. Oh, and again, first page is on glossy paper. I think that's a printing issue. Now, again, like in the Sailor V release, I noted that some people were upset about how the book was translated, and again, I picked up this book, started reading through, and I expected the worst. I absolutely did not expect anything this nice. But the translation issues are very few. So yeah, they're not going to sound like what you're used to with the American version. They're going to sound like regular people. But that's okay. I think the only issue too is that Luna's voice is translated as is. In Japan, they have a lot of different cat sounds like nyan, meow. In America, we just put down meow, a very flat meow or meow. So a lot of these translated glitches do tend to come through. I'm not sure how you feel about cats. I'm more of a dog person anyway. The detail work is phenomenal. They did a great job cleaning up the pages, so it's all nice and clear. The artwork is fantastic, and a lot more gruesome than the anime. Again, this is not a book for children. This is not a coloring book. So you're going to see a lot of very graphic scenes. You're going to see a lot of issues with battles where villains just get ripped asunder. This is a must-have if you are a Sailor Moon fan. If you're a fan of the Four Generals, this is a must-have for you guys too, because there's some great scenes involving Nephrite and Jadeite. The book goes through what used to be books 1 and 2. Just to give you an idea, this is how Tokyo Pop translated it. They flipped the pages for American readers. And another problem too that Tokyo Pop did, they would splice up little articles that Naoko put in and rewrite it as though they were interviewing her specifically. She never had any formal interviews with Tokyo Pop. This created a lot of confusion for me when I was trying to put up Moon Sisters. I'm not going to tell a lie. Tokyo Pop version had a lot more slang in it too, and no color pictures. The first version of these books was on a very thick grade of paper and a very thick binding, and this falls apart like you would not believe. I've had to re-glue books before, and that's not fun. The Kodansha books don't do that. Now, with this book, like I said, it covers what used to be books 1 and part of book 2, and in the back, you get a little sneak preview of the next issue in Japanese. Whereas the Tokyo Pop version didn't do anything like that. I'm going to say that both versions are a must-have. I'm recommending the Kodansha book more, but if you're a Sailor Moon fan, it couldn't hurt to get a couple of these as well. Oh, another problem Tokyo Pop used to have? Printing errors. Pages where the page has been printed too lightly. Oh, this smells good too. Another difference, and I really should point this out for some of you diehard fans, the Japanese version has something completely different in some of them. It's not in this book, but some of the Japanese books have a little extra manga in the back, done by Naoko, and explaining how these newer books came about. I don't know if they're going to be translated for the Kodansha books. As you can see, it's not in the first one. But the first one makes up for that by giving you a sneak preview of the next book. So, in closing, you need this book. There's a link at the bottom of the screen where you can purchase it legally. No downloading from MangaFox, thank you very much. You definitely need this in your collection. I recommend this as a buy.